Scatter.
I'll settle this. Dissipate.
Illusions are but distractions.
Here you are.
Only emptiness.
Fellas, is it gay to like Alhaitham? Probably. So you want to main Alhaitham, huh? Alright, good on you. The fact that you chose to main him, or at least want to play him, shows you have a decent amount of support for this incredible character, so allow me to give you my introduction to what I think is a pretty good guide on Alhaitham. Granted, I am a little biased because I have been playing Alhaitham every single day for the past, give or take 6 months. I think that's how long he's been out now. I might be wrong though. I've used him to clear every single Spiral Abyss since then with 36 stars, including the Hell on Earth that is this current Spiral Abyss, so it's needless to say that Alhaitham is definitely one of the better characters in the game. And while I don't think he himself has the highest value of any 5-star in the game, I definitely believe that his teams are some of the strongest ones, so let's discuss Alhaitham, and I will give you some advice on how to play him as a Alhaitham main. How to build Alhaitham. Yes, I know, it's very boring stuff. Nobody really cares, but, you know, it is what it is. Some people need to know it. That being said, let's do this quick and dirty. The best 2 pieces you can get for Alhaitham as a late in-game player would be either a 4-piece Gilded or a 4-piece Deepwood. If he's the only Dendro unit on your team, you want the 4-piece Deepwood. If you have another Dendro unit on the team, make sure they have the 4-piece Deepwood and give him a 4-piece Gilded. Boom. Done. Problem solved. Those are your 4 artifacts. However, I should make something known right off the bat. On Alhaitham, the things you are going to value the most are your substats. The Alhaitham you're seeing in the background footage now is running a 2-piece Gilded, 2-piece Deepwood because the substats on my artifacts are so incredibly good that I know for a fact I will never be able to get anything even remotely as powerful through any other method. Thus, I suggest you do the same. Have a 2-piece Dendro bonus damage, a 2-piece Elemental Mastery, or 2 2-piece Elemental Masteries. If you can only pick 2 pieces to have by default, I would have them be 2 Elemental Mastery bonuses rather than a Dendro bonus damage because Alhaitham sends off Dendro bonus damage and the fall-off scaling should affect him around that time. However, it's really not that big a deal. Do whatever you want. As for weapons, anything that has Elemental Mastery should be your high priority. If you have the Tuyugabi Shigori weapon, which is the sword umbrella that came out not that long ago, you can use that. It has a pretty good substat. I'm pretty sure it's good for Alhaitham, but it's not the best, obviously. If you have any of the Elemental Mastery 4-star weapons, preferably a R5 Iron Sting, I would use that. Other than that, the best thing you're going to be able to go for is crit damage or crit rate weapons. As for how you go about getting these, it doesn't really matter, but one thing I should say is any 5-star sword that has crit rate or crit damage on it will be incredibly good for Alhaitham. I think in order from worst to best, it's Alhaitham's signature weapon, then Jade Cutter, then Mist Splitter. However, I might be wrong. It might be Mist Splitter because it does have the elemental bonus damage stat on it. Either way, the difference in damage is so astronomically small to the point where it's not worth stressing over, so just use the one you want, or in my case, use the Jade Cutter because it has the drip. As for substats and artifact stuff like that, the best thing you need to go for is HP Flower, Attack on the Feather, Elemental Mastery Sands, Elemental Damage Bonus Goblet, and a crit rate crit value hat. As for substats, the things you want to go for the most are crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and Elemental Mastery. Energy recharge is always nice, but on Alhaitham it's not necessary for reasons we'll get into later. Not to say his burst is weak, but because of the way his skills work and how I personally play him the way that I found is best, it's not necessarily the greatest ability to worry about. Also, one more thing that's very important about Alhaitham. I know a lot of people get to 50 crit rate and they stop. For Alhaitham specifically, I highly recommend you level up your crit rate as much as you can. Me personally, I have it 89, and the reason for this is because most of Alhaitham's damage comes from 3 hit instances that range anywhere from 1 to 3. Because of this, it's a lot more punishing if you don't crit than it would be for someone like Yuimiya, who hits a bunch of times rapidly and can afford missing a few crits. For Alhaitham, any missed crit is a serious hurt, and you don't want that to be happening to you. I would say go for around 70 crit rate. As for crit damage, I would get around 160. As for why I suggest you stop there rather than 200 like most people would say, is because Elemental Mastery is very, very, very valuable in Alhaitham. Me personally, I have 419, I know, so close from greatness, but I recommend most people try shoot for 500. It sounds very, very high, but if you have a 2-piece Wanderers or a 4-piece Gilded, or hell, even an Elemental Mastery weapon, match that with your Elemental Mastery Sands, it's pretty easy to get to. As for what you need to level up, that's very important and forms of talent. I would recommend recommend leveling up your skill first, then your auto attack to 6, then your burst to 6, and then from there, it doesn't really matter what you do. In terms of higher value though, the burst is a little bit above the auto attack, but auto attack can't hurt to level up either. Just do whatever you feel like you want, but just know that it's not as important as it would be for a character like, say, Hu Tao or Ito. Alright, with that being said, we're done with the boring build stuff. Now that you know how to build Alhaitham, let me let you in on some of the secrets I've learned in the past 6 months playing Alhaitham. First things first, people say all the time that Alhaitham is a very skill-heavy character. They're lying. And to demonstrate that, I need to take you into the game for a little bit. Alright, so we're in Genshin Impact now, we're actually in the game, and if you hear my keyboard clicking, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it, it's just loud as fuck. That being said, there's some very basic things that follow most of Alhaitham's mechanics, and that is basically his mirrors, his reflection. This is how he gets most, if not all, of his damage. A very large portion of it. The way the mirrors work is essentially every time you use his burst, depending on the number of mirrors you currently have when it's used, the burst will do more or less damage. So for every hit instance, as you can see here, it'll do 206% of your attack, plus 106.4% of elemental mastery, and then for every mirror it'll add 2 hits, up to maximum of 10 with a minimum of 4, assuming you have 0 or max. So that is what this does. However, depending on the amount of mirrors you consume when you use this will depend on how many it gives you to begin with. So say for example, I start my rotation with Alhaitham, and I use Alhaitham's burst, then I will instantly get 3 mirrors, as you'll see here. I have my burst ready. I'll use it. We wait 2 seconds. Boom, 3 mirrors. So now with these 3 mirrors, I can do a full rotation. So I'll keep slashing till I lose 1, I'll charge stack an enemy, and if I hit something, I would get another, which gives me 3, and then I'll keep hitting, and by the time the 3rd one wears off, I'll have to reset my buffs. And that's the main gimmick of Alhaitham. You'll also get 2 if you use your elemental skill, and you'll get 1 if you charge attack. So what I personally like to do is I'll start a battle, I'll go in, I'll use my Nahida skill, my Nahida burst, I'll use my charge attack with Yelan, I'll use her E, her Q, I'll swap into Shinobu, I'll use my E, if the burst is ready I'll use it, if not I won't. I'll go into Alhaitham, and for the first rotation I'll use my burst, then wait a couple seconds and get those extra shields, and then I will keep my 3 stacks. Once the first one wears off, I will charge attack to get another one, which will keep my damage up, and then I'll keep slashing until I run out. Once I am out of extra shields, or I guess in this case mirrors, I will swap back into Nahida and reset the rotation. By the time you get back to Alhaitham after doing your first rotation, Alhaitham's skill will give you 2, and then a charge attack will give you a 3rd. And by the time you're done, that'll be around 12 seconds. By the time those 12 seconds are over, you need to reset your duration anyway. So that by the time you get around to the 3rd lap, you'll have his burst up again. And you can do this over and over and over and over and over. However, nothing will ever survive that long, and to demonstrate this, I will show you myself. We'll do it right here. This is a no burst rotation. So I'll walk into the enemy right here. I'll do my skill, my burst, swap into Yelan, skill, burst, swap in Nahida, skill, swap in Alhaitham, elemental skill, charge attack, and then we do auto attacks. And he's dead. Wow, bro, that was so hard. So as you can see here, I have made it to the Ruined Drake. He is right there, sleeping, looking all peaceful and shit. As I said last time, that was a no burst rotation. That was what you do after your first rotation. So we're just going to assume this is the first floor spiral base. All my bursts are ready, so here's how it will go down. I'll walk in with my Nahida, I'll do skill, burst, swap in Yelan, skill, burst, swap in a Kuki Shinobu, skill, burst, swap in Alhaitham, burst, wait 2 seconds, 1, 2, I have 3 stacks, keep attacking. My first stack wore off, charge attack, I didn't hit, but I would have got another stack if it did, and then I would just keep slashing until I run out, and as you'll see, my last one ran out. As soon as my last stack ran out, all my buffs went away. So after that, I would swap back in Nahida, I would use her skill, I would use Yelan's skill, get her burst back, use her burst, use her skill, go back in Alhaitham, charge attack, skill, boom, 3 stacks, and then you would repeat the cycle, and by the time the cycle looped again, I would have my burst back, and you would start over from 0. And that is how you play Alhaitham. It is nowhere near as hard as people try to claim he is. And there you go. It's pretty simple stuff, all things considered. I really hope that tip helps you out. But now we need to talk about something else. Team comps. I see a metric ton of people call Alhaitham whale bait, and that he's incredibly powerful only if you have a bunch of 5 stars. Now, I have a lot of problems with that take. Specifically, there's more 5 stars in this game than 4 stars, so newsflash, buddy, most teams that are doing well in Spiral Abyss are mostly comprised of 5 stars simply because there's more of them, and a lot of the 4 stars that come out now, let's be honest, they suck some ass. That being said, your best teammate on a Alhaitham team, which cannot be replaced no matter what, is Jingshou and or Yelan. You have to have some sort of off-field hydro applicator to be applying hydro consistently. Now, I personally use Yelan, but I only use Yelan because I have Elegy for the End. This may be seen as a stretch, but if you're watching this video, you have Yelan, you have Elegy for the End, and you do not have Alhaitham, get Alhaitham, put Elegy for the End on Yelan, build her for energy recharge, and get her some like pretty decent amount of HP so she cannot be shit on field damage, and she will do wonders. Why? Well, because all of Alhaitham's reflection damage is based off of his elemental mastery and his attack percent. And what does Elegy for the End give you? Both of those things. And on top of that, it gives energy recharge for Yelan, which he really needs on this team. And on top of that, Yelan buffs damage for teammates while her burst is active, and she helps you do more damage because, you know, just plain and simply, her raw damage is higher than Jingshou's, and thus she's just an all-around better option. I mean, if you do not have Elegy for the End, I would still recommend using Yelan just for that. However, if you don't have either, another great option is still Jingshou. Matter of fact, some people would even argue that Jingshou is better. This is because Jingshou can use Favonius Lance, which allows him to give the entire teammate their energy back, which is incredibly valuable for characters like Nahida. If you can get her burst back every rotation, your damage will skyrocket. However, for my specific team, it's pretty hard to do that, so I don't really worry about it. But it can be a very big upside for you. That being said, the only other character that is a 5-star that's considered very valuable is Nahida. And I'm gonna be honest, boys, Nahida is very valuable for this team. Nahida basically is the glue that keeps the whole team together. However, you do not necessarily need her, she just helps you do way more damage. You can use Dendro Traveler too and have pretty much similar results in forms of reaction, but you lose the AoE damage that you get by having Nahida and the passive energy recharge, which in my opinion is a very big deal. As for the last member, aside from Alhaitham of course, we have Kuki Shinobu, and I'm gonna be honest, she's a 4-star, so most people will probably have her. So there you go. There are your options. There's what you're allowed to build. I've shown you my damage and what I can do. I've given you some advice on how you can play him, and I told you what characters you can use to replace his 5-star teammates. Other than that, there's no real incredible advice I can give you, but I will say this. Alhaitham, in my personal opinion, has one of the strongest teams in the game. Do I have a source to back that up? No, I don't. However, I've played a bunch of teams in the game, I have every character, and I like to use them how I see fit. That all being said, Alhaitham's team is one of my lowest invested, and it feels the strongest. If I'm doing Abyss, the very first thing I will default to is an Alhaitham Hyperbloom team, which is the team I showed you in this video. You've seen its destructive power, you've seen its capability, you understand why I prefer to use it over everything else, and hopefully you see the value of Alhaitham. I understand that a lot of you will probably be pulling for Kazuha and you just came here to see what the competition has, but for those of you that are pulling for Alhaitham, I wish you luck on your summons. I hope you get Alhaitham, and that all being said, this has been your advice from an Alhaitham main. Be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it. If you really like me, go ahead and subscribe. I rant about Genshin stuff and make meta videos. That all being said, I wish you luck on your pulls.